Hi everyone, I'm Kevin and this is HFX by Bike, a channel all about getting around Halifax by bike. In today's video, I'll be covering a short trip from the Brewery Market downtown in Halifax to RIO Pilates and Yoga in the North End, which is part of the R Studios group of gyms. As always, I'll be playing a game of +1 -2 along the way. Every time I run into something that makes my trip safer or more convenient, I'll add a point, and every time I run into something that makes it less safe or less convenient, I'll take away 2 points. You can keep track of how I think the ride is going by looking at the heads-up display in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm just starting out at the Brewery Market downtown. Bishop Street is pretty steep, but I'm only on it for about a second. This is the Hollis Street protected bike lane. I'm only going to be on it for about a block, but it does keep me separated from traffic. That's almost $400 in tickets in under 30 seconds. Anyone can have lapses in judgment while on the road, but if somebody shows you that they're a bad driver or generally prone to ignoring the rules of the road, it's really important that you, who is not wearing 2 tons of armor while getting around, believe them. Give bad drivers extra distance and extra attention. It's just basic defensive riding. This is Morris Street. It's the least steep climb out of the downtown that works for my destination, but it has no bike infrastructure. There's a smooth transition from Morris onto the South Park Street protected bike lanes. There's a barrier protected the entire way through. There are elevated platforms at transit stops. I think there are some designs that could better integrate transit users and bikes, but this is a pretty good compromise given the space constraints. The lane continues through each of the intersections, and I think all of them, or at least most of them, have left turn boxes installed. This section is elevated, which is another way of keeping cars out of it. It's also much nicer when there's rain or snow, as it's easier to keep clear and it's not as prone to flooding. The space between the bike lane and the sidewalk means that you have to deal with way fewer pedestrians in your path of travel. And of course, the paving here is perfect. There's a smooth transition into the Bell Road protected bike lanes. These were painted lanes until the city installed these flex posts. It's not as good as full barrier protection, but it is an upgrade from paint. I think these look kind of goofy, but the main downside is that they get removed in winter to make it easier to plow snow. The transition onto the Ahern multi-use path is really awkward. The curb cut is oriented away from the bike lane, forcing a hairpin turn. This path does keep me out of traffic as I pass by Citadel Hill. It's flat, well paved, and wide enough to accommodate all users, generally speaking. That's the end of the path, and I need to hop into the road to get through the roundabout. I had consistent bike infrastructure for a bit over a kilometer, so here's the bonus point. Just on the other side, I have a smooth transition into the North Park Street painted bike lanes. I'm only in them for about a block, but they give me some space to stay out of traffic. I wish I weren't sandwiched between the traffic and the parked cars though. That's the end of the bike lane. Turning onto Nor Bernard, there's no bike infrastructure here. There's a smooth transition onto the North End Bikeway. The bikeway is open to traffic, but it has pretty limited usefulness unless you live here, so traffic is pretty low. As an upside, the bikeway has plenty of space. The city has put various traffic calming measures in place to slow down whatever cars are on the bikeway to an appropriate speed. This includes things like speed bumps and wide shoulders to slow cars down that are making turns. The entire bikeway is flat, and at least this section is well paved. I can't speak for the others, that's another video. And here's RIO. There's bike parking on the other side of the building, or out front of the new development just across the street. My trip from the Brewery Market to our studio's RIO location in the North End covered about 3 kilometers and took 12 minutes. I was in one form of bike infrastructure or another for about 2/3 of that trip. with the largest gap being the climb out of downtown on Morris Street. Overall, this kind of trip is pretty approachable and convenient to make by bike, although there's definitely a few quality of life improvements that could be made and a few gaps in the bike network that should be filled in. That's it for this one. Let me know what kind of trips around the city that you'd like to see covered, and if you like this kind of thing, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.